Welcome, friends, to this circle of love. All of you, your faces look fantastic. And I know I speak on behalf of the family that your presence means a great deal to everyone, physical presence. We're also filming this virtually, so we welcome those who are on the camera going through to virtually connect with them. We probably wouldn't even need the camera with the energy present in this room. We could reach just about anywhere. My name is Tom Jacobs. I have been given the honor and the high compliment of helping to officiate the service. I'll tell you more of my connection with Cathan later in the service. But I think everyone in here has their heart wrapped around you, Keiko, Kasha, Ari, Brennan, Lisa, close, Robin, and all of you who are connected with Cathan, energetically, in friendship, in family, and however you are connected with her. The multifaceted aspects of this human being are remarkable and way above normal. You've got mother, you've got a mentor, you've got a meditation teacher, a mindfulness coach, martial arts, meals with her nourishment, and of course, musician. You will hear from different aspects of these categories throughout the service. But we're going to start with a piece of music, which Brad is going to share. I'll get my music off here, Brad, and we'll transfer into that. We'll hear more in just a little bit. Thank you, Brad. There's been a lot of intentionality in this service, a lot of metaphors We wanted to start with why we chose the Arboretum. We think really Cathan chose the Arboretum. She walked out here many times and she loved nature. Maybe some of you have been on a walk with Cathan out here. Maybe some of you watching virtually have been on a walk with her. But that's one reason we chose this spot in a relatively new building, very beautiful building. When we came to look at the space, we looked up at the ceiling and we saw these circular lights. That was the second thing we thought of, circles. No beginning, no end, always connected. We thought, well, let's follow up and make the chairs be in a circle to show the interconnectedness of what she created in her life was a lot of connections. She was just magnified toward that type of gift. So the other personal part of this is the urn. Right here is a piece of pottery which Kasha actually put together in the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of risk when you do pottery. You never know if it's going to crack in the kiln. But we moved forward into the unknown, as is a practice. We don't always know what's coming. To me, this beautiful woman is a wake-up call to the unpredictability and the preciousness and shortness of life. There's so many things happening in the news that are also giving us the same kind of a wake-up call. You know what I mean, just the recent skaters that passed on. They didn't know when they woke up that morning. Cathan didn't know when she went to bed that night that she would be making her transition. The wake-up call, I feel strongly, is to live life to the fullest. Let go of anything that weighs you down or holds you back. Move forward, even in the midst of self-doubt. Move forward anyway. And many other lessons that you've ascertained in your lives as well. Here's my connection. We're going to have a series of stories that follow me, but I got my turn now. How do I know Cathan? Many of you have approached me and asked me, how do I know her? I said, well, I was just walking out on the street one day and she came by and rolled her window. No, that's not it. Cathan first met me. I teach yoga. She came to one of my yoga classes. And then I teach meditation. So she came not once, not twice, but 3 times to a meditation seminar and recruited friends to come with her. And then years later, she played her violin on one of my recordings. And for a number of years, Robin was in my music ensemble and Cathan as well. And so it's music, meditation, yoga. And then they also appeared, this is Beth, my wife. She and I have a retreat house called Timber Creek Retreat House. Both of them appeared on an early video in 2012. And so there's a lot of paths that we crossed with her. But I wanted to conclude with this quick story that is another depiction of her life. It was 2009, and I was going to have my December concert at Unity Temple on the Plaza. Everything was set up. We had 1,100 tickets sold. And it was, I don't know, maybe 12 days before the concert, I got laryngitis. And it was very stressful. Robin was in the ensemble at the time. He went home and told Cathan, and within a moment's notice, she drove 1 hour to my house and put me on a diet that would get rid of my laryngitis. It was miso soup and fresh vegetables. And she was very strict. She said, this is no coffee, no crackers, no tea. I said, how about water? She says, I'll be that lenient. And I didn't even ask about vodka. I knew that was way out of the picture. Well, the fast story is, within 5 days, my voice came back. We got a group of people to call all of the ticket holders and tell them the concert had been moved to another weekend. They moved the concert. They came. We got more people because the date was better. This is not a story, though, just about Tom's concert was saved. It's a story of Cathan. Service-oriented, ready to help without a moment's notice, no inconvenience. And she knew, at least in her knowledge of nutrition and health, how to heal me. I'm here today with that voice speaking on her behalf. And there'll be other voices and other stories. And even though there's been some selection of people to come up and speak, we want to encourage all of you, when this little service is over, to continue telling the story of her, how you know her, how she touched you. And I will leave this as an invitation. If any of your loved ones, including Cathan, who are now in a different state of consciousness and a different dimension of life, no longer encumbered by anything of earth, a whole different level of awareness, if they were to grab this microphone, if Cathan had this mic, I'm going to invite you today to ponder what she might say to you from that level of awareness. I mean, maybe she'd say, lighten up. Or go after your dreams, it's not too late. Or move through anything that weighs you down. Don't let it hold you back. On and on can be your themes. Think about that. I invite you to listen, because her physical presence is not here, but her energetic presence is powerfully here. So let's continue with stories and memories with our first speaker. Jessica, here she comes.
Welcome this afternoon. This is a collection of thoughts put together with friends. We're here today, obviously, with very heavy hearts, but also so much gratitude for the gift of knowing Cathan. I'm here not just for myself, but for those of us, moms, homeschoolers, study group friends, who spent years learning, growing, and raising our kids together. She was more than a friend. She was a light in so many lives, a steady source of wisdom, warmth, and kindness. She had this way of making you feel truly seen and valued, and that's something we will all carry with us forever. Cathan was one of the most compassionate, thoughtful, and loving souls I have ever known. She had the ability to truly see people, to listen, to hold space, to offer support with a depth of empathy that was rare and profound. She loved you for who you were and honored your journey, whatever it was. She touched so many lives, not just through her work with children and adults, but through the way she simply lived. She embodied the values she taught: kindness, patience, and the belief in connection and understanding that could heal and transform. Our friendship began nearly 25 years ago, and in that time we shared so much: our love for our families, our journeys as homeschooling parents, and our pursuit of creating a more supported, meaningful world for those that we loved. 20 years ago, we read Nonviolent Communication together as a parenting group, our first introductions to the concept, and that experience changed us. Cathan took those lessons to heart in a way that was awe-inspiring, as many of you have known her on that journey. She didn't just learn it, she lived it. She sought to deepen her understanding, to practice, to mentor, to bring this compassionate way of being into every facet of her life. She built a community around those principles, changing lives with every conversation, every act of care, and every person she supported along the way. She was always open to exploring and learning new things. She always had a spark of curiosity. One time at one of our study groups, she brought her ironing because, as we all figured out, sometimes you had to get creative, balancing caretaking and learning when the kids were young. That was Cathan, always finding a way, always present, always engaged. But beyond all of her work, her greatest joy was her family, her children, Kasha and Brennan, and her mother and late father, Mr. and Mrs. Baker. She loved you with every fiber of her being. She spoke of you all often and with a love so deep and unwavering that it was palpable. Her devotion to you was central to her life, and I can only hope that you can continue to feel her love to carry with you. Cathan showed us what it meant to be truly present, to truly listen, and to nurture those around us. She treasured life and exuded joy, even during challenging times. Her laughter was contagious. So in her honor, let's continue her legacy, not just in words, but in actions. Let's be curious, be open, be joyful, and embrace the people in our lives and embrace ourselves with the same warmth, compassion, and generosity that she had. Let's hold each other close, offer grace and understanding, and cherish the relationships that make this life meaningful. Cathan, your presence was a gift, and your absence is felt deeply. But your light remains in the lessons you have taught us, in the love you shared, and in the many lives you touched. Thank you for everything. We love you and will carry you with us always.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Shane, and I am a teacher with the Midwest Alliance for Mindfulness, which Cathan was also part of. She was a beloved teacher, colleague, and very good friend with all of us. Her classes were always very well received in that she always brought joy and creativity to them. She would have some art, maybe some music, maybe some poetry. Most of the time it was her own poetry that she would read. And it was just always a joy to take her classes. She offered one on haiku writing and also Japanese floral arrangement, ikebana. She did one class on music where she said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play an instrument, and I want you all just to close down your eyes and just let me know whatever arises when you hear it. This was on Zoom, so she was at home. So we said, okay, there's, 15, 20 of us. So I think the first one she did, she played a little bit of piano, and then she did a violin, and then she did a tambourine. And then towards the end of the class, she said, okay, now I'm going to have several instruments playing, and let me know what emerges for you. The only thing that emerged for me is like, how the hell is she playing all these instruments at the same time? So I asked her, I raised my hand, that's what we do in Zoom, and said, Cathan, was that a recording or were you playing all these instruments? And she goes, no, I was playing them. I'm like, how did you do it? Oh, it's easy. Okay. She goes, what I do is I get the tambourine and play with this hand. I have whatever it was, bells playing with this hand. I have the maracas with my feet, and then I have this one with my feet, and then that's what she did. So that just shows you the kind of joy and the energy that she always brought to classes. I met Cathan in 2020 during our mindfulness teacher training. It lasted a year, and some of us would go on to teach later. We found that we had a lot of commonalities. The Rocky Mountains, Japanese culture, music, art, books. We became very good friends. One day I said, I'm thinking about doing a mindfulness book club type of thing, workshop, with the book, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. It came out a few years ago. And it's a journey tale with these unlikely companions and the lessons they can teach us. And Cathan said, well, that's interesting because I want to do one on Big Panda and Tiny Dragon, which is a very similar type of book. So she said, why don't we do them together? Which we did. And we had the best time. It was so much fun. It was very well received. So we would go on and teach several more workshops after that. So in closing, if it's okay, I would like to read a few passages from Big Panda and Tiny Dragon, as this book always reminds me of Cathan and the influence she had on so many.
Which is more important, asked Big Panda, the journey or the destination? The company, said Tiny Dragon. Big Panda, said Tiny Dragon, I like the way you listen to me and talk to me and travel with me. But most of all, I like the way you make me feel. I want to change the world, said Tiny Dragon. Start with the next person who needs your help, replied Big Panda. If you seek happiness for others, you may find it for yourself. Together, we can do anything. Listening to someone is one of the greatest things you can do for them. When you light a lantern for someone else, you cannot help but light your own path. Cathan lit many lanterns in all of our lives, and the light in her shine brightly in all of us. She is and will be missed. Thank you.
Hello and welcome. As I look out, I see all of your smiling faces. That's how Cathan would greet us in our group meetings for the Compassion course. And my name is Canady, and I bring that experience today. As was said here before, her journey started with the book of Marshall Rosenberg for Nonviolent Communication. And over the years, she developed and refined it, and then also refined it through Thom Bond's course of Compassion course online. And through the Compassion course online, it was a year-long study, and lessons came out every week. And she was able to, I was in a philosophy group with her, and I was trying to get her to do the philosophy group. She wanted to do this group, and she wanted me to help her. And I said, okay, we would go on walks, and I said, I'll help you with it. And at that point, we were just gonna do it together. Well then, being Cathan, she wanted to lead the group. And so I signed up for a day to help her with that because we had to meet every other week. And then she wanted to practice a week. If she was gonna lead it, she needed to practice it. And I said, okay, Wednesday nights we'll get together and practice it, and then we'll lead the group today. I'll be your tech support for the Zoom online, and you can do it. It wasn't but a week later, she picked up another group, and she was doing 2 groups. And before long, she had picked up several more groups and became more involved in the organization. And toward the end here, she was doing 3 groups every week for about an hour and a half. That was just her personal groups that she led and practiced. And then she also did 2 empathy cafes a month and many other meetings. We have some of the people from the Compassion course flew from New York here and from Tennessee to be here today. And she was very involved in it. In her journey, by doing self-work, she found she could become more in touch with her surface feeling self. She re-examined the feelings that came up in her daily life by taking the time to feel those feelings. She could then try and translate those feelings into what she was needing. With her deeper self was trying to tell her she longed for or what she valued, and that was deeply important in her life. Has been said here before, she liked to help people understand it on a new level. When I first got into it, I felt that feelings got in the way, and I only had 3 needs, and that was about it. And so it was pretty simplistic, and I felt we needed to move to a higher self. But over time, she helped me understand it, much like with the music, getting you to connect in simple ways. with me, she had several bachelor buddies that she was helping to cook and she would feed. She was an amazing cook. And so I would go over when we did our practice, and she would cook, and I'd help her. And she would make these amazing soups with all kinds of ingredients that I never even knew about. One of them was herbs de Provence. Has anybody ever heard of herbs de Provence? I brought some. It's on the table over here, but she turned me on to herbs de Provence. But she loved to add seasonings and flavorings and things like that to a soup to make it taste good. And I would always tease her. I go, you could make vegetarian taste good. And so she one day sat me down with a bowl of the soup, and she said, taste the soup and close your eyes and see what you taste. See what comes up for you. See if you can name the ingredients in the soup. And so the first thing that came forth was the spice. She liked some spice in there. And I say, I definitely taste the hot spice. That is very prevalent. But that gives way to the fresh garlic. I'm tasting kind of the garlic now. And as I sit with it a minute, I can also taste some ginger and maybe a hint of basil in there. And she's like, very good. And then she would relate that to feelings. The feelings that come up in our lives wash over us. And one prevalent feeling may be in the forefront, but it blends with other feelings in the background. And she said, the story you told me earlier about the situation at your work, you can actually almost use that same phrasing. She would say, what feelings are alive for you in that situation? And I'd say, even using that same phrasing, well, I definitely was angry over the way the guy reacted. That was very prevalent, much like the spice. But that gives way to feelings of anxiousness and nervousness. And as I sit with it, I think there is some sadness in there. And I started to understand that this was the very basic foundation of all of our lives, of how we start to communicate, how we start to self-connect with ourselves. She then translated that into, it's the thing, then you take the feelings and you translate them into maybe what you're needing. So if you're hungry, you feel hungry, you really need food. If you feel thirsty, you need water. Well, that's the basic things to survive. But she would also then make like a buffet, a Japanese buffet where you could pick things. And it reminded eating at the house with the keiko and stuff that would make a buffet style. And all of you have been through a buffet style or a potluck. And you probably, in those types of situations, when you get your plate and you're going through and you see some vegetable salad or some turkey or ham, you just instantly get a craving for it. And you're like, oh, I'm going to get some of that. I see it down the line. And you might say, cornbread. I haven't had cornbread in years. I'm going to get some cornbread. Or some of Keiko's chiffon cheesecake that she is famous for. I got to have a piece of that. Well, that's the need side of it. So in our lives, there's things that we would love that come up for needs. So it's again, the same type of phrasing. So that types of things would come up. It would be like, I need support in my life and companionship. Then I can resonate with those things. I can draw those connections. I have such a craving for companionship. I need more of that in my life. Just like the food, we make that connection. Or look, appreciation. Do you know how long it's been since I've had appreciation? I would love some appreciation. And support in my life. I would love some support. So that's how it started to click for me. She taught me through little examples like that. And I got to join her on that journey through needs awareness. And it's a beautiful journey. I was with her for 4 years helping her with the different groups as much as I could. She had so many, so she had to pick so many people. But it was just a wonderful journey to get to do that. I have a table back here too with some feelings on one side and needs on the other, and some books by Marshall Rosenberg and Thom Bond, if you would like to see those. Or you can ask me afterwards. But just to kind of close up, I was their empathy buddy and study buddy, but also gardening buddy, hiking buddy, adventure buddy. We always joked with that. But she helped me with my garden, and we did some gardening at her house too with landscaping. And the rabbits would come and eat the stuff, and Charlie would come and chew on Keiko's roses and the squirrel. And I would offer to catch the animals and take them somewhere where they wouldn't eat her expensive plants. And she would always be like, no, don't do that. Let the animals live here too. And in her old house, she had ants that came in her kitchen. And she would talk to the ants. And she would say, all right, ants, you know I have an agreement with you, and agreements in NBC work. That you ants, you can stay out in the yard, and I won't hurt you. You have the whole backyard. Just, I have the kitchen, and you have the yard. And she would help me with my garden plot. I would plow it up and dig the holes and give her the plants, and she would get on her knees and put the plants in. And she would talk to each plant and gently talk to it. And now Cathan knows that the plants can't hear her, or the animals or the ants. But she came from such a place of compassion. That was the thing for her, is she wanted to see the world and every sentient being, no matter how small, as something that deserved compassion. And she gave that to people, strangers, anybody that she came across, even the animals and the plants and the things like that. And it was just such a wonder to be with her and to hike with her. And she would do the same types of things where she would do mindful hikes and sensory hikes. And it was just always so cool. In her life, we do empathy guesses in this work. And I would always ask her when she would have her judgment parties and things like that, how she would connect. And one of the easiest guesses for her was ease. She would always say, I just need some ease in my life. And it wasn't that she wanted ease to relax, because hiking for her was relaxing, and or to watch TV or to sit around. She just wanted to have ease in the progress of what she wanted to get to, the purpose she had. And she didn't want distraction, she wanted ease. So she'd always say, I want ease, but then I also want efficiency and effectiveness or support or things like that. But ease was always one of her big needs. And it was always an easy guess for me, because I always say yes, ease, she would agree. I wrote a little poem here. We would swap, and she always laughed at how I said poem. But we would always read books and write poems. But it's called The Hike, A Journey of Discovery. The day is bright, the weather warm, a journey in the making. Eagerness as you see the trail, excitement for the taking. You quickly leap out of the car, your pack and poles you grip. As you fill your water bottle, adventure and movement you quip. We hit the trail and off you go, a sanctuary for your heart. As you take the lead and set the pace, progress is the goal as we depart. Steeper trails having thinner air as judgments join the trail. Welcome, boys, join the club, for they bring clues that don't derail. As fatigue sets in, muscles ache, the view is just amazing. You can see your goal and push on. Purpose has lungs ablazing. The summit step you finally take, you pant in celebration. Now to rest and take in your view such beauty at elevation. Breathe deep and be in the moment. The journey is now complete. Equanimity in this time brings balance and comfort replete. Let the sun warm your smiling face. Hear the wind blow through the trees. Be at peace now, my dear friend, for you finally found your ease. Thank you.
I really appreciate those of you who came up to speak on my mother's behalf. Seems like that was really hard. I don't think I could have done as well as any of you had. I just want to quickly thank everyone for coming out here and joining us today and taking the time and the energy to celebrate my mother. Those of you joining us virtually, thank you as well for being here with us in spirit. Because my mother had so many connections with everyone all over the planet, we thought it was really important to try to make it possible to come together, even though we can't all be in the same physical place. So thank you for taking that time and effort. I just want to say my mother's Japanese name was Aiko. It means love. My grandma gave us all a Japanese name, and that was hers. And she really suited her name so well. She was made of love, and she loved with her whole heart. And she loved everyone she met with such a fierceness that was admirable. And I hope that we can all go out into the world and demonstrate the same type of love that she did all the time and spread it to those around us and do that in her honor, because I think that way a little bit of her will live in each of us as we go forward through our lives. Thank you all again for being here. Thank you to the musicians for performing. Thank you, Tom, for all of your help and organizing everything. And those of you who organized the food, oh my God, thank you so much, huge help. Brought the books, the music, everything. If there's something of my mother's back there that speaks to you, please take it home and enjoy it. She would want those things to be used and enjoyed. And yeah, just thank you for your presence.
Thank you, Kasia. Thank you, everyone. I echo Kasia's comments of the people that put this together, and whether it's from filming or Kent, some of the work you did with the audio visual and the food and all these, gratitude can never be overdone. We don't ever want it to go unsaid. We call these things that are inside this urn, we call them the remains. This is just the physical remains of body. There is a whole lot more of what remains. And guess where that is? It's in you and me. It's reverberating around the universe with no block, no blockade. It is divine energy expressed as we open and let that happen. So, we give thanks for the life of Cathan Kabrelian, for the love that she embodies both here and there. We give thanks for the multiplicity of her gifts that flowed in this earthen vessel. We give thanks for her motherhood, her music and her mentoring, her meditations and her mindfulness, her martial arts and the way that she could calm you down. We give thanks that though her physical body is absent from us now, that she is present and alive energetically in you and in me, in you and in me. for the wonderfulness that she brought to this world. Amidst the wounded and the worried, she brought wonder. Wonderful world, wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blooming for me and for you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed days and the dark sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the skies, are also on the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. So we will end as we began. Sascha has a special piece to conclude the service. Well, friends, as we said at the beginning, you're welcome to continue telling the stories. We certainly have refreshments over here to the west, I think that is. We have, as Kasia said, books to be taken, both reading books and music books to be taken. Kasia and Brad, thank you for the music. Beautiful. Kent, everybody, blessings. Good to be continued. Namaste.
Oh, I didn't see it until like 5 minutes ago. And I was like,